I've lived 1,000 lives. I've piloted 1,000 souls. I've killed and fought at night just for another role.
This is the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, a roundtable discussion that's a mix of friendship, humor, unbridled enthusiasm, and tabletop RPG topics sent in from around the world.
Just for another role.
Hello! Welcome to the Happy Jacks RPG podcast, season 30, episode 18. My name is Kimmy.
I'm Jason.
I'm Nick.
And in today's episode, Savage Stalker shares about journaling as a world-building exercise. Jan Engel from Norway asks about running 10 candles at a con. And James from New Jersey shares a LARPing horror story. Ooh. If you'd like to contribute a question or a topic to the show, email us at happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. That's happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. And we could use some emails, please. So that's
please emails.
That's our announcement for the week. I feel like part of it's Discord's fault because people post topics in Discord and
everyone gets their fill of
there's like great conversations
and like real time.
We chime in sometimes. And
I had a story that I was starting to write up as an email, but I wasn't 100% sure that the person that it was about doesn't listen.
Oh.
And so I decided that I wasn't going to try and endanger a friendship.
Oh, it's that level.
I think that person would just take the criticism poorly.
Yeah.
And I don't like, it's not that bad. Mm-hmm. And we're not talking cheeseburgers here.
What?
That's a very old reference.
That's an old reference.
Wow, okay.
You don't want to know.
You do not want to know.
That's when you sock puppeted though.
Right.
You like.
I tried to strip out as many details as I could, and it still was just like
too specific.
If this was swapped, I would still know that this was about me, and I can't take out any more details.
Yeah, that happens.
Well, now we have something fun to talk about after the show tonight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right.
So join our Patreon, and you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It won't be there.
You can join our Patreon, but yeah,
yes.
that story won't be there. That'd be fun though. Like host horror stories.
We were thinking about
Patreon reward.
Some new Patreon rewards. Maybe that's a thing to look at.
That's kind of interesting. Please send us emails, happyjacksrpg@gmail.com. I know everyone's really busy right now. We have a few more. We have enough for like a couple more shows. We might be able to finish out season 30 with what we got, but yeah. But our actual listener numbers and downloads has gone up, so that's very exciting.
Hey, which means new people to give us new emails and new horror stories.
So there's more of you.
So get on it. Let's get cracking, people.
So make this a two-way participation thing, or you will become part of the show. It's very exciting.
Immortalize yourself on Happy Jacks RPG.
Yes.
Podcast advice thing.
Show thing. Very good. We're super professional. Amazing. All right. Well, I guess let's just get right to it then. Someone want to read the first one?
I think that's you because Jason wanted the second one.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
cool.
It has to go in order, Kimmy.
Sorry.
Absolute animal.
I wasn't paying attention when you were working.
Anarchy. Pure anarchy.
Dear Kimmy and the Blue Blazer regulars. In season 30, episode 10, Wizard asked how deep an aspiring GM should go in creating homebrew worlds, and a great discussion happened about interweaving plots, PC and NPC connections, improving lore on the fly. I wanted to email in with a helpful exercise that I've been doing lately and have ready-made locations and lore at my fingertips and help with my memory problems. I am so listening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Memory problems.
Yeah.
You say.
Just at me next time, why don't you?
Seriously.
But a little backstory first. Around the holidays this past year, I started getting very depressed at the state of things and needed an outlet to just dump everything out of my head. I've never been great at journaling, but that doesn't stop my wife and I from acquiring the fanciest journals we can get to I might have written this email.
Why is a beautiful journal such a trap? I also want a beautifully bound stack of paper that I won't do anything with.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's not good enough. Whatever you have is not good enough for it.
Yeah.
That is it exactly.
You're one of us. Anyway, sorry. Half-filled notes, RPG ideas, and that one recipe for that awesome meal we will never make again. Realizing the crushing weight of the amount of journals we had at home, we opted to support local businesses and buy tiny pocket-sized grid pocket journals this holiday season, and something clicked in my head. I committed to finally filling out a journal front to back with some kind of content. So while sitting and watching our holiday rewatches of Thin Man, Lord of the Rings Extended Cut, woohoo, and Die Hard, I planned out what RPG content I wanted to fill this journal with, and came up with the following template that I still use 7 months later.
Okay, wait, pause real quick.
Okay.
Can anyone tell me what a grid journal is, or should I Google it?
It's a journal with grid
paper instead of...
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you asked that question, though. It wouldn't have occurred to me that... Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. At the top, I fill out a location name, usually spawned by randomization with one of the many fantasy name generator tools, something that sparks inspiration and challenges my mind to fill in the blanks. So looking through strange fantasy names, I might find something like this. Location, the Black Widow Club.
Mm-hmm.
Now that I have a name, I put 3 asterisks on the page and write out 3 single-sentence facts about the location or area in broad strokes. Something that gets right to the heart of what the place is famous for or known dangers. Location, the Black Widow Club. Asterisk 1. A club with dancers and live music by monstrous spider beings. Second one. Apart from drinking in company, the drug mother's venom is sold and administered in private rooms.
I immediately need to know more.
Yes.
I know. I read through this. It's actually pretty cool.
It's really cool. 3, dabbling in the criminal underworld, the Black Widow's Club's spies and assassins are for hire.
You know what kind of dancing they do at the Black Widow Club?
What?
Club? Eder Capoeira.
Oh. I'm taking a drink. I'm sorry.
Good night, everyone.
Now that I have a pretty good idea of what happens here or what's important here, I move on to places and write out 3 notable or important places at the location. First one, the Nest. Bar and performance hall where the silk dancers twist and wind above patrons. That is so cool. 2, the Mother's Fangs, a private room where Mother's Venom is given to paying customers through spider bite. 3, feeding room. Those who fall on the wrong side of the Black Widow club feed mothers young. Next, I move on to people. 3 important figures and a brief description that inspires and motivates play. The Aranic's Silk Song. Mother to her children, the beautiful spider mother runs and sees all. Mistfang, unseen spiderling assassin whose bite can petrify a victim in seconds. And then Dro Morningglow, dark elf guard whose keen eyes spot trouble before it ever comes knocking. Finally, I add 3 things that could be found here, or items that are unique to the location. Silk ropes, nearly unbreakable and smooth as fine dress fabric. Mother's harp, she plays it to ease her children with a harp as deadly as she is. And then bone mush. When a victim is all but spent, their mushy remains are dumped. The small size of these journals forces me to get to the point and limits what I can put down without running out of room for other entries. By keeping it down to 3 entries per topic and only describing the details using 1 sentence, the single-page entries are great as a skeleton for an interesting location that players can build on with their own backstories and roleplay. What happens when a paladin gets addicted to Mother's Venom? What was the fighter's missing sister last seen here and kicking the nest is their only way to get answers? The daily fantasy location entries have helped a lot with my daily mental health. Every day I get excited for my lunch hour when I can munch on some snacks and think about a crazy fantasy location where adventure and excitement awaits. I'm proud to say that I'm 3/4 of the way through my holiday journal, and every page is a new place that I can pick up and drop into my future games. All of this to say, next time you're looking to dig deep into the lore of your homebrew world, maybe grab a journal. Sit down with your favorite beverage and just let the small places and people come to you. Worry about the big strokes later and brew up some fun places where danger and excitement are willing to be explored. Thanks for all the great advice. Savage Stalker, OTHP, PS Drink, PPS, abortion rights are human rights.
Oh, cheers to that.
Uh-huh.
Also, I believe we should use the Star Wars pronunciation, Sauvage Stalker.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. This is such a great idea.
Yes.
Like you've got your location, you've got like places, like details of this location. You've got people there, and you've got like details or things there.
Yeah.
And it's just like 3 of each. Like, this is journaling I might be able to do.
And what I'm so thrilled about this is, I'm so resistant to over prepping or mid prepping or under prepping even, which is not always to my benefit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'm in the moment, and like, if I had just written down a name, this scene would go more smoothly.
Yeah.
Right? But I am always hesitant to, over prep and steamroll what the characters want to be doing and have it not tie in. But this is so much information that's really helpful, but it leaves, when I was like, oh, put down 3 facts about the club. Well, what if that, ends up railroading too much of the story? Like, a club with dancers and live music by monstrous spider beings, that's not too much information. I could easily slot in whatever, or if our story doesn't go to the Black Widow Club, okay, then I'll go to one of the other places that I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And I really like this level of prep. Like, I'm going to try this. I had done almost this level of stuff in thinking about the place we just wound up in the Fantasy Pirates. What's it called? Cast-Offs.
Yes. The name you came up with.
Yep.
Yep.
The place they just wound up, I had listed a few facts like this for myself, but it wasn't organized in this way. And I'm just going to go back through and think about several of the places there. Like, they're here. They're at that place, right? I can make some information for them to stumble across. That's sometimes one of the really fun things in an RPG, is just kind of discovering what's there and having some back and forth with the players and the GM. And sometimes a little structure is good.
Yeah, I feel like this is like the exact right amount of detail.
Yeah.
And also lack of detail.
Yes.
I feel like I really like this, and I'm probably going to probably yoink this entirely. But the idea also is stellar in my opinion. I feel like this is enough information for me to have an idea of what the club looks like in my head already, based on what little was there. But it's not so much that your players are going to feel like they can't add anything to the scene. So like if a player tells me, oh yeah, the go-go cage, I'm going to go do something on there, and I don't have that in the notes, but sounds like they'd probably have one, so cool, I'm down with that. Let's roll with it.
Yeah. And
but even just like having a couple of people, like a couple of names that are down here, so when you need someone who's like, hey buddy, you shouldn't be here, you can be like, oh, that's probably, Dro.
Yeah. Also, Kimmy, what do you think? Can I drop this template into the show notes for like the YouTube and the...
Yeah, absolutely. That'd be great.
Cool. So, folks, this template's fantastic. I think Savage wants us to share this. So, I'll add that to the show notes when I export it later.
Yeah.
I also like the note about helping with the daily mental health, because this is the sort of thing that even if you weren't doing it at lunch, if you have a job where you've got a little bit of downtime, you could bang out a couple of these points while you're waiting for your next call or the next spreadsheet or whatever it is you do. Like that seems great. And it gives you all these interesting thought ideas, like what happens when the paladin gets addicted. All these little things that can help keep you entertained, but also keep up the excitement that you have for the campaign. And nothing is better for a campaign than enthusiasm and excitement.
True. It's also really critical. I'm glad you pointed that out. It's like sometimes being creative feels like this huge, daunting, mountainous task. And if you don't do all of it all at once, then it's not good enough, or it's not done, or there's no point in starting. Yeah. At least that's where I get hung up a lot.
Sure.
And finding, like, I make little tasks for myself sometimes. I'm just going to write the intro to this, or I'm going to outline this other thing that I'm working on. And those little bite-sized chunks are what keep me moving forward. And then sometimes just the momentum from, oh, I wrote the outline, but now I'm all jazzed up and I gotta write more, right? And sometimes it's just that anticipation or the, thinking about it ahead of time that I don't want to do it, where if I just start, I love it.
Yeah.
I love doing it. I love writing, and using something like this just to get started.
Yeah.
Is like this is so simple and great. I love it.
Yeah, having something where there's like bullet points for me to fill out or blanks or something. Like if I just have a blank empty page, I feel this pressure to fill the page. And what I fill the page with has to be good.
Oh,
Because you
right.
spent a page in your journal.
how
and this
dare you? How dare you at me in the middle of our show?
But right? I mean, like we all kind of, and that's why these beautiful journals we buy stay empty.
Mm.
Because nothing I can think of is worthy of this beautiful journal that I bought. So having this like very like set template where it's like, okay, all I need is like a part of a sentence, like an idea, like there's bullet points. So it still looks nice in this beautiful journal I bought, but I don't have to like write the next great American novel like on the page to make it worthwhile is like such a relief. And I think a lot of people feel that way. I know my students often feel that way. If you're just like, okay, take notes on this, like write this down, you know, give them a blank page. They're like, I don't know what to write. But you're like, you know, idea number one, like any kind of a graphic organizer, like really helps people be more creative because it like helps compartmentalize. And it sort of ties into what we've had, the conversation we've had with like game systems that limit you and how that actually makes you more creative sometimes because you are like are limited. So in these parameters, come up with something. So instead of trying to think of the coolest thing in all the universe with every possibility, you're like, what is the coolest idea in these parameters?
Yeah. I actually get feedback from my technology students in this the one class that I have them write essays. It's this very structured 5-paragraph essay of intro, argument, call to action, outro.
Yeah.
You know, and the feedback I always get is like, it's so nice to know exactly what I'm supposed to do for this essay, because sometimes prompts are, and then sometimes educationally wise, they need to be vague and open-ended, and that's fine. But the one that I do has given some relief to my students in that they're like, okay, I know exactly what to do. Now I can be like creative within this very clear guideline.
I bet they use that as a template for other classes too. I know I certainly would have if that had been a guide for me.
Absolutely.
I really like this for another reason, and that is because some of the another piece of advice that I had read about and tried to give as well is using index cards to do your notes and things like this. And these are small enough to fit on index cards, and honestly would be a way that they actually kind of make sense and are organized, because by the time I've written a whole bunch of stuff on the index card, it's illegible from this sort of rambling, and then this, and maybe an arrow to that
Right.
thing. But this just goes boom, boom, boom. You can have all the answers right there. And then when people say, hey, we're going to the Black Widow Club, boom, you just grab that card and you've got that information. Oh, we're going to the police station now. Boom, now
Yeah.
I've got that info right in front of me.
yeah.
Um,
Go ahead.
I had another thing, but I can't think of what it was, so
Okay.
forget about it.
I was going to say it also would be great for if you use some sort of digital like thing, a spreadsheet or something like that. You have just all these different locations you've come up with and you have them categorized like I don't know, whatever categorization you use for like a seedy nightclub like this,
Mhm.
like seedy nightclubs or whatever it is. You know, you can like click really quickly on, you know, if you're using Google Sheets or something, and then like organize alphabetically. Okay, seedy nightclubs. Oh, this one, and then you have all these things right there. So that would make something like this daily writing task, even though you wouldn't be able to use a beautiful journal, which is beautiful. I'd love that. But like it would be something that you could literally take with you to every single game you run.
Yeah.
And have right there, and like, a tavern, okay, a little village, okay, you know, and you can like do that, and you have all these options. Like this is the exact right amount of information.
Yeah, I mean, the tempting thing with using a digital tool is like, I could do 4 things on this one. Like, you know, I think this 3 things is a good limit.
Mhm.
There's a reason why early humanity thought that as a holy number. It's like a like perfect a number of things that the human brain can hold on to all at once. You can remember lots of things, but like 3 is a really clear, like if you look at there's a whole bunch of research on brain scan stuff that
1, 2, 3. Crunch.
exactly.
Third time's the charm.
Oh, I figured out what it was.
Okay.
I've solved the beautiful journal problem.
Okay.
Here's what we're gonna do.
Ugly journals.
We're all gonna buy just like 3-ring binder ugly journal, or like spiral bound is what I mean.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we're going to do all of our notes in there. And then once the notes are there, we're going to transcribe them into
Oh,
the really
God.
nice journals.
Oh.
So that like when we pass away and we've got this drawer full of really nice journals, everyone's going to think that, oh my God, look at what they did on these wonderful journals. And they're going to feel bad because their journals
Yeah.
aren't as good.
Yeah,
But
that's-
shh,
yeah, no one will know. And there's no erasing. They did it perfectly the
the first time.
I legit did that once. I started like I'd write it out first, and then that's why I didn't get very far journaling because I had
Oh
to
yeah,
write
because
everything twice. I like wrote it out, and then I was writing in this beautiful like 8th grade cursive in the actual journal.
oh yeah.
Actually I actually found it while I was cleaning this summer, and I'm just like, oh, my profound 8th grade thoughts.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God. Okay, put this back.
I read some stories that I wrote way back
Yeah.
then. Was like, oh, I was not the literary genius that I thought I was.
No.
But you also weren't afraid to just write down pointless tripe.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
You felt so good about what you're doing at the time.
there's no fear.
Then
True.
Adulthood.
All right. Speaking of 1, 2, 3.
Two.
Two.
Greetings from Norway, all you happy jackers.
Hello.
I have been listening to the podcast for a couple years now, and I've heard mails from Swedes and Danes, but I can't say I remember hearing any from Norway. So I finally decided to do something about that.
Woo! Thank
Hey,
you.
Well done.
Skull.
Proactive. No, that's at the end.
Oh,
You skipped it.
I'm part of the group organizing a small con in Horten, Norway. It's called Midgard Con.
That's
Excellent.
amazing.
Nice.
Excellent name.
Love
And
it.
it's held in a reconstruction of a Viking longhouse called Gildenhallen.
hell yeah.
Yes.
What?
So
I
when is this
I
exactly?
want to go to there.
Do you need celebrity guests?
So,
I know people and can also pay for my ticket.
of course, there's a strong Viking theme to the con. Side note, check out pictures link. I'll put those in the show notes too.
Oh,
So for 3, unless they're inappropriate, I will decide later whether they go in the show notes. So for 3 days, we will play board games and TTRPGs surrounded by people dressed as Vikings, and it will be good. God damn it, I'm
Yeah.
going.
yeah. Let's honestly write in again. Let us know when.
Yeah.
Because you might get a bunch of happy jackers deciding that we're going to sign up and come.
It's like,
Looking up Midgard
this
Con
might
in
be
a
a little
moment.
bit of an older email.
Well,
Yes.
maybe
then if it was as
Next
awesome
year's.
as we're
Next
putting it,
Yes. Next year.
I'll be Googling this in a moment.
Yes.
I haven't tried my hand as a GM there yet, but this year I heard myself say, well, I can run a Viking-themed 10 Candles session. Hell yes, you can. It was only later it hit me. I haven't even played 10 Candles before. Gulp is in the text. Thank you for writing the Foley directions in. I haven't even GM'd at a con before, so
Nice.
I'm a little stressed. But I wonder if you wonderful people... Who are they talking to?
I don't know.
Okay, well,
Sorry, it's only us this week.
so I wonder if you or wonderful people have any tips for me, both on running 10 Candles and running at a con. I'm a bit worried about getting players who don't get that it's not a game where you win or even survive. I'm a bit nervous that I'll get a group of people coming straight from a D&D table, ready to kill them and banish the darkness, and not knowing how to change their minds. The group will be playing inhabitants of a small Viking village when the darkness comes. Huddling in their longhouse lit with torches. There is talk about the ravens flying away before the darkness, and that someone is sure there have to be more people in Kaupang. Is this Ragnarok? Or have even the gods abandoned them?
I got goosebumps.
Hopefully this won't end up as a horror story on your podcast. Interesting. The next letter we have is also from Norway. And, no. Keep up the amazing show. I've learned so much listening to you. Waves in Norwegian. Jan from Norway. Rogue librarian in the Discords. Skull.
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 I'm sorry, Jan Eagle. I don't know how to say the second part of your name. I apologize. So
I like at first that this sounds like it's the prequel to Beowulf. This is the part where Grendel is breaking into all the buildings and
Yeah.
dragging people out because they're noisy.
Yeah.
and you're waiting for a hero.
Yeah, I legit got goosebumps when he with that part where it's like, is this Ragnarok or even have the gods abandoned them? It's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
I love 10 Candles. I've only played it a couple times.
Yeah, same.
And you would think the second time would be diminished. I think I talked about this last week or like 2 weeks ago. The second time, in the middle of the game, it left my mind that we couldn't possibly survive.
Right.
That's the point of the game, is you are going to die. And the story is how. But in the middle of that second game, where I should definitely know better, I experienced a moment of hope that we might make it. And then that was crushed.
Mhm.
And the whole story was that much more momentous and valuable to me. But I totally get where you're coming from, setting this up for a bunch of con goers. One thing I will say about running 10 Candles specifically is, like you're saying, all you can do is be clear, be clear, be clear.
Yeah.
This is a game where you all will die.
Yeah.
You all die at the end. There is no other option.
Mhm.
This is the game.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like you have to say that in person though, because there's going to be a certain mindset that if you put in the description,
Oh yeah, I mean
everyone's going to die. Like there's some people are
Right.
going to be like, well, that's a challenge. Like
Yeah.
it sounds like you're going into the dungeon of dread and everyone will die.
Right. No, in person at the table, which unfortunately might be, okay, well, somebody signed up and they didn't totally get it, but it's still better to have them get it then
Mhm.
than partway through.
Yeah.
And have them really understand, like, that's not the point of this story. The
Yeah.
point is how do we get there?
Yeah.
Right? What happens between
Right.
here and there?
Yeah. Needs to be on the sign up description and really clearly and saying like, this is a story about a bunch of doomed people and
Right.
how they reach that doom.
This is not a challenge.
Yeah.
Right.
This is how the game is played.
Yes. And
Literally
then,
no one survives.
Yeah, and then at the end also at the table just like reiterate, hey, again, this is the story of a bunch of doomed people. There's no actual way that you can win. Like this is the winning part is like telling a really badass story.
Yeah.
Which it will be.
The one thing that I've only played 10 Candles once, and I've never run it. And the person who ran it was great. Like I don't have any complaints about that. It seems to me that as a system, because everyone dies throughout the game, I feel like you really have to be careful walking a line about being arbitrary. Like to me, I don't know how you would pay off really good and clever ideas that then you still have to kill off those people, because it would worry me that you're just sort of like, well, I added more monsters or the darkness got darker sort of thing. And that can feel, I think it's all about buy-in. I think if people are totally into the game,
Mhm.
they're not going to feel that way. But if you're not, I guess if you're just coming at it with that mindset of we can win, it is going to feel like rocks fall, everybody dies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about 10 Candles is, first off, read the book. It's really easy to run and read the book. And as you sit and run it, just have the book with you. It's written
Yeah.
really clearly.
There's
It's
some
easy
really
to
good
do.
guidance in
Yeah,
how to
and
do it.
Yeah, and it's written in a way that you can literally just like have it open and follow along and run it for the first time, and it's pretty
Yep.
seamless. But it's about that mounting tension. So as you have the 10 candles lit at the beginning, and slowly as you see them blow out, and as you get down to them, that's the real story, is like the mounting tension. And they do stuff, and oh, hey, okay, that candle didn't go out. Good job. Like, or, oh, no, it didn't went out anyway. Oh, you closed your book too fast, and that one went out even though it had nothing to do with the story. Good luck. Like, so that, it if you just follow the directions, it builds tension so well. And there's just kind of that buy-in because of that. It's like seeing a countdown timer. Like, humans just have a visceral reaction, an emotional reaction to that happening. So there's this visual cue that does a lot of your work for you as a GM. So you just really have to kind of like take their ideas, weave it into the story, because it's about making a badass story. And as their tension grows, like, just like weaving all that stuff together into like this magical little story where like everyone meets a terrible end or less terrible end, depending. But
Okay, so part 2 of the question I think is tricky
Mhm.
because one of the things I really enjoyed, I played this in someone's home both times.
Mhm.
I think one was my home, one was someone else's, but like we actually turned off all the lights.
Yeah.
And there were literally 10 candles. And by the way, you got to get the little tea lights, not just 10 random candles,
Yeah.
because part of it is the candles will just burn down on their own within a couple hours.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. So that little physical component, it really is like it's you could take a game like Dread that was supposed to use Jenga Tower and you can revamp it to kind of do a D20 thing. Same with the Starcrossed game, which was also meant to use the Dread mechanic. But there is a way to do it with D20s, and it's really cool. I like it a lot. But 10 candles doesn't work that great without the candles and without darkness. So
and quiet, I would imagine.
Yeah.
Like you have to be isolated a little bit so that you can. Like I feel like it'd be really hard to get in the mood of 10 candles if you're sitting at a table and there are 3 other tables who are, yelling and
yes.
destroying stuff.
So I also would say at the con, see if you can reserve a single table room somehow. That's the minimum. Don't try to take it to someone's hotel room because that could get weird or people could be uncomfortable, understandably. But
well, they're in this giant like Viking lodge.
yeah,
So I feel like that could help, especially because you're running a game of that theme. So if you can get a table off to the side, you might still be able to make that work. It is supposed to be played in darkness. That is part of the rules. I have played 10 candles in not darkness, and it has worked. You have to have buy-in. I wasn't playing in a fucking like set for where we were, so that might be amazing. But yeah, definitely don't go to a hotel room. But like have that knowledge when you're planning, because that is an important piece. Is the darkness.
if you can find an alcove or an
Yeah.
office somebody could give up for a couple hours, something, it will be worth the little bit of trouble it takes if you can find it. I mean, you could still run the game. Like Kimmy said, it doesn't have to be. You could just have the candles and if you have the right kind of candles and just let them burn down or blow out or whatever, that's fine. But having it get darker and darker feeds a big part of the story, and making use of that is great. Everyone experiences that differently, but if you can get it, it's really nice.
One thing, as someone who worked in event planning for a while, you need to check with your event space and see if they allow actual candles.
Live flame.
Yeah, a lot of places do not allow live flame. If you Google online, there are people who've come up with alternatives for 10 candles. I haven't seen one that seems like it would work for me, like the same way, because there's like timers and stuff, but it's the unpredictability of the candles is part of the cool part of it, and that fact that if you, oh man, I can't believe you do a big gesture and it blows a candle out.
Yeah, I had one go out when somebody rolled the dice.
Yeah.
And it bumped a candle and knocked it out. And we were like, oh, should we relight that? And the guy running it was like,
Nope.
That's not how this works.
Yeah.
We're like, oh shit.
Yeah. So double check that before you like sign up and run the game and everything, because if they don't allow live flame, then you could have a big problem.
So in the game that I was in, what is it? Game master?
I don't know. Game runner.
I think so, yeah.
Storyteller or something. Had us all go record like a final message on our phone. Is that part of the mechanics? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do a little voice memo.
Mm-hmm. So you have to make everyone go away for that. They can't hear each other's.
Yes.
Right.
So it just follow the directions. It's a really, really well laid out game. It has a lot of things in common with Alice is Missing. Like really cool elements where people do something at the beginning that then pays off big at the end, and you're like, and every time, I don't know how it's like, you get the end and you listen to the voice messages that people recorded like hours before any of this happened, and you're like, oh wow, that's so good. It's so perfect. And I don't know how it's perfect every time, but it is. It's really great. But yeah, you probably should also list that in your description that you need to bring a phone or something for a recording device. Nowadays, that's not a big deal. But just in case someone doesn't have a phone, I don't know.
Or if there's a immersion issue with the event. I don't think so because it's a con, but
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah. So, when I played at a convention, they had us just like, okay, everyone, we're gonna take a break. We know that you did like your first part of the setup. Then he was like, okay, we'll take a break. Everyone go get a drink or a snack or whatever. And also you need to record this. So we all just kind of went to different parts of the convention.
Found the
We
longhouse.
here for
That's
listeners,
amazing.
we just went ahead and took a quick look at Midgard Con, and if they allow live flame, it would be a stellar location to run this. So if you already did it, we hope it was awesome
Tell us
because we're
about it.
imagining it being fantastic.
Oh, another option too.
It's very low light in there. It's like this big like wooden building with like low light and like mood lighting. It's really nice.
You also might be able to request a like midnight game, where most of the people have checked out, and okay, the place isn't empty and it's not silent, but you could get a section of
closer,
it,
yeah.
right? And it just I think it's also okay to say that 10 Candles isn't the best con game,
yeah,
right?
that's
Like
absolutely.
I love it. The
Yeah.
game is outstanding. And going to cons is fun too. Playing games at cons, and it's awesome that you want to share this game with people, and take the risk, like you said. If a table full of like competitive D&D tourney, championship players are there, they might not totally grok what you're talking about and take it as a challenge. And you just have to be super upfront about that and super clear, like you are doomed.
Yeah.
This is not a challenge or a dare, like.
Yeah.
This is a story of doomed people.
Yeah, this is
Right.
building the story. But honestly, if it was going to work in any place that like inside with lights on, it would work in that place.
Mm.
Yeah.
You may also, I have no idea what the weather right now is in Norway. Sorry. Like I'm trying to survive 100+ degree weather here in California right now. So, but it may be an option to play outside. So that might be an option
if
too.
it's
Like,
nighttime, yeah.
like if you have an evening time slot or afternoon time slot or whatever time it gets dark there right now.
The experienced world travelers at Happy Jacks.
Oh yeah, I just like don't know precisely right
I
now.
know, I know.
Yeah.
This says MidgardCon 2022 is September 30th to October 2nd.
Oh.
So it's still upcoming.
And it's, did I hear that right? It's long?
No, it's 3 days
3 days. Okay.
or 4 days. But also there are tickets available.
So,
but
an
yeah.
unofficial call to action.
Yeah. Sponsor Happy Jacks so we can get tickets. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
We would-
I'm not above being sponsored, and I would be happy to attend as your special guest.
Verifying we would never use Patreon money to buy tickets somewhere. Just
Oh,
so you
no,
know.
no, no.
But yeah, if you were like, hey, I happen to be independently wealthy and will pay for Happy Jacks to go to Norway to play in this con, I would not say, I don't know if I
What-
don't know.
I mean,
You would at least consider it.
I would consider it.
I
And
would
I'd buy
go.
a really great respirator.
Yeah.
I would go.
Maybe an air
No
tank.
questions.
Yeah.
I
that's
would
true.
go.
Yeah, I would go.
But I also don't have a lot of like, anyway.
Yeah.
I
it'd be
have to find someone to watch my cats.
Yep.
All right. That was great. And please, horror story, success story, somewhere in between. Please
let us
write.
know.
Take
I
pictures.
am
wanna see
dying
this
to know
con.
how this goes.
Yeah.
Beyond Eagle.
Absolutely. And if you decide to switch up and run a different game, that's cool too. The very first game I ever GM'd was a convention game. It can be done. It can be done well.
Are you joking?
Nope.
That's a nightmare.
It was nope. It was great.
Wild Talents, right?
Yeah. It was
Why are you still doing this?
I was really lucky. Like I'd been on the podcast. I like had done all this stuff, and I.
Oh, you had played a bunch.
Oh, I'd played a bunch. Yeah.
Okay.
It was just my first time GMing.
Right. Okay.
And
okay.
I had gone to conventions before a little bit and played a little bit, but I much prefer to GM at conventions instead of play. Like it is something
Really?
Interesting.
much prefer. I think I'm a control freak, and like I know I'm gonna have a good time if I GM.
Huh.
Where I try not to sign up for like friends games because I feel guilty taking a slot in a game where I could play with them somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I try not to sign up for Happy Jacks games unless there's like an open spot right as the game's starting at conventions. So I end up signing up for strangers games, which is like the roulette of game time.
Right.
But it's like if I run this game, no matter who shows up, I think I can do a good job and I can still have a good time. And if anything else, I could learn something.
I was just going to say, I actually did the same thing. And the only time I was signing up for the Happy Jacks games for people I know was when I was just barely in the door of being of being a member.
Uh-huh.
So it was like, okay, I'm still, I don't feel bad about this. I'm still on the outside looking in.
Yeah. Well,
But-
and it's I don't try
Begrudge
and
people who
yeah,
do.
I don't begrudge anyone who does, but as someone who's kind of in charge of it and gets to cast the shows, and I'm like, I'll put myself in that game. Like, I feel a little bit manipulative to then also at cons be like, I'm gonna bring myself in that game.
Right.
I love the kind of in charge.
Okay, well now I'm officially like totally in charge, 100%. I was totally in charge before. I had to kind of pretend I wasn't, but
But by the way, anyone listening, once we got started on the whole topic of Vikings, Kimmy went and got the
Yes.
rights or Ragnarok shield for the Shield Maiden.
yeah.
Well, that was like
This-
what,
my Viking shield.
2 years ago?
No,
It was
that was
it was pre-pandemic, right?
yeah, that was the 2016 election.
Okay.
It was a long time ago.
Right. Oh God, the
Long-
before
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, that was.
And we still don't have equal rights for everyone.
No.
So,
But I'm carrying my Viking shield in honor of this email. Plus, I did a really good job painting it.
yeah.
Yeah, it looks great.
It's a great prop. It looks like wooden planks, and it has the different like gender and gender combination. It's like all gender, all love. Everything is
And it's based on Lagatha's shield from from the Viking shield. It's very cool. Anyway, I did a good job. It looks like wood, even though it's like poster board.
One thing I just realized. I wonder if people would be annoyed if you turn up to Midgard Con and ask them to play in English. Like, I assume I know
that's
most
very good.
people in Norway speak English. That's just math, but that
Oh.
is true. But are they like going to this like, oh, cool, we can just speak Norwegian?
Gotcha. Yes, us ugly Americans invading
Yeah.
this con and being like, well,
You will all
Speak
play
my
in
language.
English now.
It's like the Happy Jacks contingent in the corner playing in English.
Yeah, like I got to spend a week in Finland, and it was lovely. Everyone spoke English. We learned some Finnish phrases, and everyone was like, "That's okay, it's nice."
stop butchering our language. We'll use
Yeah.
your ugly language.
Yeah, we speak 5 languages. It's fine. And we were told it was basically true through Scandinavia, but it just occurred to me that like I wonder if people would like to just sit down and play in Norwegian and not have me barging into their table.
Maybe.
That's true.
Or maybe they have games set up as like multilingual, or you have to speak Norwegian to play here because the guy running it only speaks Norwegian. The one guy in Norway who only speaks one language.
When I went to China, they all want to practice English.
Oh.
So they will come up to you and start conversations, and they'll like push their children awkwardly to you to have conversations, and you like talk. Like my favorite interaction, I ended up sitting. We were flying from one part of China to the other, like on like our 3rd day or whatever, and I sat next to this little girl, and I don't know why I'm a teacher. I had Post-it notes. I don't know why I had Post-it notes, but on my vacation in China,
Of course you had
on my
Post-it notes.
plane.
On you too,
Yeah,
not
on
like
me.
packed away
Yeah,
somewhere.
no, like on me. And she and I ended up doing a thing like this game for like the whole like 2-hour flight where like one of us would draw a picture and she would write the word in
You
her
played
language.
Pictionary.
Yeah, basically. And then I would write it in English and we'd like practice.
That's
Oh, neat.
cool.
It was so fun. She drew this like beautiful mermaid that I still have, and like she like we were just drawing like whatever we wanted, and it was so much fun. It was just like
Oh, I love that.
it's one of my best memories from there, and like she like gave me a high five. when
I
we left.
love travel and
Nice.
cultural exchange,
It was
anything
really
like
cool.
that.
Yeah,
It's
she must have
just-
been like 9, I think. So she was about the same age as my 4th graders.
Mm.
My mom was like, "You're such a teacher." I'm like, "So are you. What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
All right,
Hasn't
so-
she been a teacher for like 30 years or something?
Oh, she retired when she'd been teaching for 38 years. Like,
Yeah, okay.
Yes, they named the building after her when
Yep,
she left.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, this is why I have other hobbies, because I'm never going to be the best teacher in my family. Like, no
That-
matter how good I am.
It sounded like a Kimmy mom.
Yeah.
It's-
Yes.
the role was taken. So not obviously not that lovely heartwarming story, which I love, but
Yeah.
my segue is going to be from horror game to horror story.
Oh, yeah.
Our 3rd email. Kimmy and the Happy Jacks family. Hey, it's James. James from NJ on Discord. That didn't flow real well, so I'm gonna take another take here.
Ready?
James from NJ on Discord. Hey, it's James here, and I'm back from a long hiatus when all the Discord reorganization happened, and I'm happy to see the new studio and leadership. This is a story I've been thinking about writing for a while now, and just heard you're running low on email, so I thought it'd be a good time. See everyone, be like James.
Look at that internal plug right there. That was fantastic.
About 5 years or so ago, I decided I wanted to try and attend a Vampire the Masquerade LARP that I found on meetup.com. I looked through the options and decided on a Malk who used to work for Edison before he was embraced, and still worked as an adjunct professor at Princeton University. I believe that is Malkavian for those who are
I
vaguely
think there's
familiar.
a cool concept there.
There is,
Absolutely.
I feel like Malkavian's like a hard thing to jump into on your first LARP. Like,
But I mean, he chose it.
no, for sure. But like,
Okay.
There's
that's like jumping in on hard mode.
what I've heard from a lot of people is that there's and I don't know, I'm sure James did not, but there's something that people call a fish malk, which is just someone who is a Malkavian and they're just zany and whatever, and they're basically playing Animaniacs.
Yeah.
And it's hard to like find something and make that the broken part of you that is not just, hey, I'm gonna be a wild and crazy guy.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like that.
No. I'm sure that's not this, but just to comment on the like, that's hard mode.
Yeah, totally.
I went for a few sessions and the storytellers were trying to help me get a bit involved in the meta plot of the campaign. I don't remember the details, but it was something involving the death of someone from the university, and they put a dead body in my lab or something.
Okay.
In the game, let's hope. Since things seemed to be going well, I invited my wife and a few friends, and a few friends for them to all make their own characters and come with me to join for a night and try it out as well. One of them, we'll call him Jay, had apparently done some Vampire LARP in the past, but the others were all first-time players. That session was the one where everything went wrong.
I'm so sorry.
Immediately, my wife and the other woman, Alyssa, who came with us, were swept up by an all-male storytellers, bringing them into the storyline and completely ignoring the two guys and myself, leaving us with the powerful and old vamps who seemed to be playing just for the power trip.
Yeah.
To emphasize this point, Jay had made a Gangrel character to play, and these power-tripping players thought it was fun to basically force him into frenzy, where he had no choice but to attack them. The fight was over in one round, as the aggressors had multiple dots in celerity and killed Jay before he could even do anything.
Cool.
Good times. That's a great way.
Thanks for inviting us to your game. This was awesome and
a great
fun.
way to grow the hobby is just slaughter the brand new people.
Immediately.
While all this was going on, the other male, Matt, and I were basically ignored and made fun of by this, quote, elder vampires, even when we tried to interact with them. When they did interact with us, they were making fun of my costume, a lab coat and goggles, and just generally being assholes. It came to a head when one of the guys just pushed my last button and I told him to shut the F up.
Yep. Thank you. I'm glad you did.
Yes. It usually takes a lot to get a rise out of me, so at this point I'm shaking and just done with it all and just continually shut them down. Luckily, my wife and our friend happened to be back in the main room when this happened, and she immediately noticed how upset I was and got me and Matt out of the room to discuss. After comparing notes, Matt, Alyssa, and my wife and myself all decided we had enough of this and we were planning to leave. Jay decided to try and stay as he was making a new character who might survive more than 30 minutes.
Oh.
The night had a good end, though, as we ended up calling another friend who didn't join us at the LARP, and we all went back to his house and managed to salvage the night. We drank and laughed and watched Kindergarten Cop, rewinding the "It's not a tumor" part way too many times. Sometimes I look back on that night and think maybe the people weren't just assholes who still enjoyed the power trip and just very much in their characters and just Vampire LARP isn't for me, but it's still a story and a night that I will never forget. Always keep jacking. James from NJ.
Cheers.
Huzzah. Oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. This is honestly what keeps me from trying LARPs. And honestly, like, there's a vampire LARP, like, at our local con that's made up of most people I know.
Yeah.
Like, I know, like, 70% of the people there.
Yep.
But especially, like, as a femi-presenting person, as someone who, like, did Ren Fair for a lot of years, knows how to, like, be in character and be in person, like, it's still, like this should be my wheelhouse. And a costumer. Like, this should be a thing that is, like, my wheelhouse. And it's just, like, something that I just, like, because of stories like this, I just, like, have very little interest in trying it.
Yeah. Well, let me clear up one thing for you, James. They were assholes.
Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
There was like as soon as you said they made fun of your costume,
Yeah.
that's a player choice. Like you did your best and made a costume to this new LARP, right?
Right.
You're brand new. That's not something, like if you're role playing a character who's a dick, one, that's a choice you made. You decided that your character is a dick because you wanted an excuse to be a dick to people.
Yep.
And if it's not with a bunch of people you know, and it's not in the right environment, then it's just you being a dick.
Yeah.
And particularly making fun of someone's costume is making fun of their out of character choices because they did the best they could and wore this costume to stand up and play pretend with you.
Yeah.
Well, and also, if you've been doing any hobby, LARP included, for a long period of time, you're going to have developed all of the right tools and all of the right gear and all the right equipment. And to make fun of someone who's just trying this out is a total dick maneuver. Like, there's no excuse to be like, oh, you didn't drop $3,000 on a velvet frock coat. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
I just wanted to try this out, and this fits my character concept. Like,
Right.
it's a very visually distinct that everyone is going to know, oh, he's some sort of a scientist, which honestly, that's super helpful because
Yeah.
I've tried Vampire LARP a couple of times, and frankly, everyone's walking around like a reject from a Trent Reznor video,
Yeah.
and you don't know who the fuck anybody is.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
so it's really hard to like interact with anyone because you don't know what's going on.
Right.
I honestly, I applaud that costume because that tells me something about who you are right off the bat.
Well, and thank goodness they didn't spend $3,000 on a coat because they died in the first half
Right,
hour. Like,
right.
can you imagine? Like, I would be so upset. Like, I think that's the thing too. It's like I don't understand how that's supposed to work. Like, and I know there's some LARPs that have great like rules in place for that, for like bringing in new characters and making sure it still seems balanced, that they're included and they're not like this is like bullying.
It's absolutely
Yeah.
bullying.
Like, but if you get in a group with these high level people who are only more powerful than you because they've been doing this longer,
Right.
not because they're like better at it, and then they just decide to like ruin your night for no reason, like, oh, especially in Vampire where you can be like, well, I'm offended, I'm gonna murder you because we're all vampires. It's
Right.
Well, and especially a brand new player. Like,
yeah,
one of the things that is a constant, I mean, it's less so now, but one of the things that is always a challenge with RPGs and LARP too, for the same reason, is making sure you have enough people who want to continue to be interested in this thing. And if you treat people poorly, then not only are they not going to play, so you're losing out on them, they're also going to badmouth it to other people, maybe not on a podcast about whatever, but they're going to go, oh yeah, I tried LARP one time and it totally sucked. I wouldn't waste my time on that.
Right.
And all you're doing is hurting more people and preventing them from getting involved in something that you're obviously very excited about. If you're scheduling one night a month or one night a week or however often you play to go get dressed up and inhabit these characters who you really want to inhabit, that isn't, you need to have some entry level stuff, or at the very least, because I've played characters in an RPG that were kind of a dick. But I was very clear to all of the players ahead of time, this character is gruff and he
Right.
doesn't get along with people, and that is who he is. I myself, I love you. I think you're great.
Yeah.
And I will, and if at any time I step over the line, you tell me. If
Yeah.
these people were really interested in playing their character quote, they should have taken a moment to put their thumbs on their foreheads and say,
Yeah.
look, out of character, I really want you to have a good time. Unfortunately, the character that I'm playing is a 3,000-year-old dickhead.
Yeah.
And
he's
he's gonna
hates
make
gangrels.
Right, and he's going to make fun of you for that reason. But just let me know if it gets to be too much, or let me see how I can help you. Maybe introduce you to some other people that you can play with.
Yeah. And the fact that it went to killing the gangrel character is wild to me.
Yeah.
That is literally telling someone you're not welcome here.
Yeah.
Like, we killed your character because we can.
yeah. It's a power trip, and honestly, like if I was going to do a LARP, I don't think I'd do a vampire LARP because of this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it tends to, and I don't play Vampire the Masquerade with people I don't know because of this too. I try to.
Vampire is a very tricky one to get right, and it attracts a certain kind of people, unfortunately.
Right, and there's a power hungry / sexual element to a lot of times.
Yes.
And so like I don't feel comfortable dressing up in a what did you call it? What were the outfits?
A reject from a Trent Reznor
Yeah.
video, which will live forever rent-free in my mind.
Ever. Like such a perfect description. Like because that is 100% the outfit I would put together.
Here's the thing I just want to say to people. Everyone who sees me on video and most people who know me, I am generally very friendly.
You are.
But what they don't know is that I went through an incredibly snarky, shitty period, and that person still lives in the back of my head who's a judgmental prick. And every once in a while I let him out, and people are usually shocked. Because I don't think Jason has ever heard me.
I've heard a little edge of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Personally, I am delighted when
Yeah.
it happens because I have a very snarky, like dry wit that I am quite bitchy, but
I'm not.
He's Jason's sweetness and light.
Yeah.
Jason's never done anything wrong in his life
a
ever.
goddamn delight.
We know
let me
this
tell
and-
you.
And we love
We
you.
love me.
Yeah. I like to think of myself like a good cider, like a little bit dry, like sweet, but
little
also there's a
bite.
little bite to it, like all together.
Good.
Yeah, it has a surprisingly high alcohol content, unless you're a cheap version that you buy at 7-Eleven. But anyway, that was a nice little metaphor that I like went way too far on. But
Or was it the perfect amount?
perfect metaphor.
Yeah.
Okay, but
Just like cider.
yeah, just excited. But there is that weird thing, especially, and there's some safety from that when you're playing at an RPG table.
Mhm.
You're rolling dice, you're dressed in your normal, like whatever you're wearing, your Happy Jack shirt, whatever it is, and you're at a table. If someone starts getting weird, you can just like pull away from that. Like there's that like physical aspect when people are acting in a LARP. Same thing that happens at Ren Fair sometimes, that you're like literally like right next to each other. You're supposed to be acting in character. You're supposed to sometimes be touching and talking to each other. And it sounds like LARPs like this like don't have the safety tools in place or
Well, I don't think they would
aren't
want them.
well, no, exactly.
Yeah.
Like they specifically are designed to be these power trips, and it's very common for like, oh, these two women are coming over here, and oh, we're gonna kill off their guy partners,
Yeah.
and so that we can like role play with these women whatever we want, and then the guys have to go, and
Also, that's kind of creepy as fuck.
It is
when you like
creepy
swoop
as
down,
fuck.
swoop down on the
Yeah.
presumably preferred,
yeah,
gender and sequester them off from the people who they came with. Like
Yeah.
that. Honestly, I was sort of waiting for that to be part of the
Yeah.
horror story as well.
I just think like if I were hosting this event, I would be like, oh, new people, let's get them in and having fun together and have a great time and show them how fun this can be and have them come back next time and the next time and grow this. And then, things can get spicy because we all know each other. And then if it gets a little fighty or whatever, then that's okay. That's part of the story. But on day one, it's fucking arbitrary.
yeah.
And especially like they must know that those guys were going to be like that because they didn't just they might have just turned into that night, but probably not.
Yeah.
So to knowingly leave them there,
Yeah.
hey sheep, here are the wolves.
Yeah, basically. Someone in the chat, I'm not going to say their name because I don't know if they want like this on the
Sure.
podcast, says, yep, New York City LARP scene is hemorrhaging players now because of the bullies. And the bullies are now offended that nobody wants to game with them anymore.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, guess what? If you're a
Stop
dickhead,
kidding.
people don't want to play with you. That's not getting canceled. That's you. There are consequences to your actions.
Right.
Uh,
You fucked around, you're
Yeah.
finding out.
yeah.
Also, no one wants to work anymore.
Yeah. Well, I think also part of it, Vampire the Masquerade, while also like having these sexual undertones and these power dynamics, like is supposed to be played in the real world.
Mhm.
And so there's all these like systemic privileges and things like that, which is something else they're talking in chat too, where in addition to what like the privileges that actually exist in the world of the Masquerade has privilege, like
Sure.
all these different things. So you get to be the rich asshole, Ventru prick who like can buy anything. So, you take that on as a character. So you treat other people badly because it makes you feel cool in a LARP. And then it's compounding on all these terrible things where if you have a good group and you have good safety tools in place and it's people you trust and they have a good way of welcoming in new people, can be fun.
Yeah, you could totally explore those themes and
Yeah.
have a good time and do all that. I'm not saying Vampire is an inherently bad game.
I am.
Okay, that's fine.
For a LARP, it is a dangerous subject.
Yeah, like I went to a few instances of a vampire LARP. I didn't have a great time. It wasn't creepy for me, but I'm also not the primary target of creepiness, so that's whatever. But you know, it was hard to get included. Everyone was like a million levels higher than me coming
clicky.
in. They had
Yeah.
no reason to include me in anything. There was no way for me to contribute. But I thought, okay, maybe I just don't like vampire that much. I went to a mage LARP. They were much nicer. I drove up to not San Jose. It's like an hour.
Santa Barbara.
Santa Barbara, thank you. I drove to Santa Barbara once a month for several months to try out this group, and I liked them, but then I was like, oh, this is too much hassle to drive to. I tried, there's a really big LARP organization in LA that I went to, and I'm not going to name, but I just didn't have a good time. Part of it too was when I sit down to play a game, I often want to play somebody who doesn't look like me. And at a LARP, that I feel really restricted by what I personally look like, what costume I can physically put together. And this really came into focus for me one time when I was having a conversation with somebody at the LARP who physically looked like a 6'4", pretty beefy dude, right? And outside the LARP was masculine presenting, and that was his, right? That's who he was. But as I was having a conversation with him, he repeatedly tapped the like post-it or something that he had that like, I'm a 14-year-old girl or something. And like that, I don't think that's inherently creepy. It was just, there was cognitive dissonance where if we were sitting at a table and he was playing a character who was a younger kid, like, sure, yes, I can, yeah, we can do that. Like you're playing a younger kid. When we play masks, we all, you know, that's great. But how would you LARP masks?
Well, and I like the fact that they had that there. Like, as someone who's done a lot of like acting and role playing and like improv type role playing in person, I feel like that would be really important.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, like, I don't think he was being a creep.
No.
It just took me out of it so much.
Yeah. And that's definitely like it's something that you can do or either you can want to do it and not be able to do it. Some people can do it really easily. Some people can't. But the fact that at least they have that option. So that seems like that's a better LARP. Like so many.
Oh, yeah.
That's a great tool. I'm just pointing out that there are good LARPs. Please don't take this as like no LARPs are good and that no vampire LARPs are good. But like it is also an environment that is rife for abuse. There were a couple years ago, there was a big LARP that was out in Riverside actually. And like it came out that like one of the people running it, he was kicked out of the LARP and stuff, but like he was abusing women. And he was using the LARP as an excuse. And then when people were camping out there for the weekend for the LARP, he was, you know, taking advantage of that and stuff like that. So it is an environment where abusers can use things. If there's not safety tools in place and there's not very clear boundaries in place, they can use people wanting to participate in that as a means to, you know, their advantage.
Abusers can join the masquerade as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I had almost the exact opposite experience in one of the vampire LARPs that I tried. Is there was a 5'7" guy, and he had a note, and like took a moment to even say this outside of character. Like the character I'm playing is an 8-foot androgynous gargoyle, so it would be like. And I was playing someone who was essentially just a mortal who was getting inducted into this society. And so I had to, you know, I kept trying to play up that I was looking up at this stone monster rather than down at this person who was playing them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that part of the story purely for me was, that's why I have trouble getting into LARPs. That was not meant to be a criticism of LARPs in general. That was just my personal disconnect. The first part, I have trouble plugging into vampire, period.
Yeah.
But
so do I. And also, I just want to say this because I have a problem with almost every vampire LARPer. And the problem is the conceit of your game is that you're supposed to be blending in with the people who are around you. And it's supposed to be played in public. And sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't, and I get that. But a lot of times when people are playing in public, they're dressed in, as I have previously said, rejects from a Trent Reznor video in the middle of, in my case, this was downtown Santa Cruz, which means they all stood out like sore thumbs and completely broke the masquerade and broke the basic concept of what they did. And if I had gotten into it, I had the idea that I was going to make a character who showed up in a Hawaiian shirt and shorts all the time because
flip-flops
because that was one who was actually blending in with the people who were around there for the masquerade.
Yeah. I would fail that. I would have like the most like, oh my gosh.
leather
Gothy
pants,
goth.
trench coat.
Yeah.
I don't know about
uh,
that,
honest-
but like a corset would be involved, some sort of like amazing tapestry. I would like.
And I love all that
yeah.
stuff. I think that's great. I just think that like that works if you're playing in the concert hall you rented or the VFW or whatever. It doesn't work when you're out on the street except for very certain types of areas.
I don't think I'd be brave enough to do that. I think I got hired by Ren Fair too many times to go out into like public venues and like like, you know, county fairs in Ren Fair garb. And like, I was actually at Strategicon. One of my first times at Strategicon was before I joined Happy Jacks. We hadn't even started Happy Jacks yet. The fair paid me to go to Strategicon and hand out flyers in my Ren Fair garb.
Oh, for Ren Fair.
For the Ren Fair, yeah. Because like, hey, go to fair. Because
Hey, if you like RPGs, you should come to the
Ren
Fair.
Fair. Yeah, and it was super awkward because I was teaching preschool at the time, and one of the dads of one of my preschool kids was there, and I'm like, in my bodice, and like my boobs are like at my chin. I'm like, hello. He's like, hey, I'm glad I didn't call you to babysit this weekend because obviously you're busy. I'm like, yes. Would you like a flyer? He was super cool, and he was a total nerd. But yeah.
Yep.
But it's just like that role playing in public now just like gets me like it's awkward. Oh, I had to do it at the Getty too. Oh, that was super awkward. We went to the Getty and we had to like sing some songs because they were doing like a Renaissance painting thing, so they hired. So that was awkward. That was so awkward.
Oh god.
So
Yeah,
awkward.
honestly, that seems less awkward because you're there as a performer to me. Like,
Kind of.
and I know that you were hired by the Ren Fair to do that as
Yeah.
well, but that's also just like, hello, random person who wanted to enjoy your own hobby this weekend.
Yeah.
Forsooth, take this flyer and come see me at the Ren Fair.
I don't know. I was like, hey, you should come to the like. I totally like. Some people did the voices. I was not one of those. I was much more successful when I did not do the voices. I was like, hey, this is super fun. We sing about drinking. It's cool. Like people, and they didn't care. The Ren Fair people. But I think that was the more awkward thing because like at the Getty, they wanted us to be in Renaissance character. So I was there like putting cloves in an orange, like it was like hundreds of years ago, which is fine. That's what I do at fair too. But like it was just odd. Like at least when you're handing someone a flyer, you know the interaction is like 30 seconds long maximum.
Why are you putting cloves in an orange?
You dry it and it's like, well, at the time they thought it was a way to keep away the plague.
Oh
And
yeah,
stuff like
that's
that.
solid.
Pleasant smells.
Yeah, but it actually is a really great. Like you then let it dry and it's actually a really great like.
It's like a potpourri.
Yeah, potpourri
Aromatic.
thing. Yeah, it's really nice. And it just is.
Probably cures COVID.
Happy Jacks RPG would like to be clear that putting cloves in oranges does not cure COVID. But
Not
it is,
unless you shove them in a place in your body.
but yeah, oh no, not even that.
That's up for you to
Yeah.
determine.
But
Nick
it is a-
means your butt.
yeah. But
I
it's
do mean your butt.
no, this is true. But it's a great fidget activity if you have nothing to do and you can make cool patterns.
Putting
and-
orange. Oh, the putting it in the
clove.
Yeah,
orange.
you can-
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you meant what Nick
Wow.
was suggesting.
No, that.
Well, that could be a great leisure
Totally
activity too. I don't judge.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's a great time. way to
You're
way to-
welcome,
way
America.
to end it, as it were, with orange in the butt. Okay. Thank you for joining us. Oh my gosh, I put my thing away. For season 30, episode 18. Thank you so much to our chat mod, James V, and our amazing Patreons who keep us ad-free and independent.
Thank you.
My name is Kimmy. You can find me here every Friday. I'm also here right now on Wednesday nights playing in Hexbreakers, our Kids on Brooms actual play. And it's so much fun. It's so great. And that's run by Emily. And it's kind of like an anti Hogwarts JKR, like pro-trans show. And it's so much fun.
I always hear Kids on Brooms in my head as Girls on Film.
Yep. Kids on brooms. Yep.
I feel like that's a different game.
Probably, but I'm just saying it's the right
We should make that
Yeah.
hack
the right
now, though.
scanning.
It's the perfect skin.
Yeah. All right.
I'm Jason. You can follow me on Twitch and Twitter at It's Probably Okay. I stream on my channel Wednesdays and Fridays, and I'm GMing a game here on Saturday nights,
Tomorrow.
6 p.m. Pacific time, with Nick. Nick has to be here as well. And we're using the Quest RPG, which is kind of a stripped down D20 system, very simplified, but a lot of tools to tell a fun story. So it's, I think everyone at the table, it's our first time playing Quest. So it's a fun experiment. If you're curious about how the game works, we go through some of the process a little bit. And I am actually following the rules of the game. It's just there were like 8 rules.
Right.
So if you can imagine, I'm playing rules as written. They just only wrote 8 rules. So
I love that. That's so good.
I can actually do it.
It's at questrpg.com?
It's adventure.game.
Adventure.game.
Yeah.
Which you can check it out. The art on it is beautiful. I highly recommend just taking a quick peruse through, even if it's not your cup of tea.
And the main book PDF is free.
Yeah.
You could just download it and then pay for it if you want to, but it's like built into their system. So yeah, check it out.
Hey everyone, I am Nick. As you've heard, I'm on the Saturday show Castaways. So if you are so inclined, please Cast-offs. Yes, yeah, that's what I said.
Yep.
We'll fix it in post.
Yep.
Boy, that just derailed my entire train of thought. So so I'm on that show, and I'm not going to speak anymore.
Oh no!
Bye.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
All right.
That's okay. I talk a lot anyway.
Tonight we are going to leave you with a song. We're going to leave you with a cover of Laser Printed Hero, and it is by the Mary Sues, and it has what I think is my best guitar playing to date. I'm very proud of it. Yes, I play guitar. Don't at me. And yes, you can check that out, and we will see you next week. Thank you all. Bye.
Bye.
She looks upon the landscape of this ancient battlefield. She looks upon the horrors that curiosity reveals. That endless goblin army, full of avarice and vice. She gently calms her battle steed as she reaches for her dice. And she's a laser printed hero, a figure cast in lead. And if you miss a dice roll, she may just end up dead. Don't forget about her backstory, both family and foe. And if this is her last stand, well, that's just how the story goes. She rushes into battle with her pitiful stony gaze. Today she'll give no quarter as she rushes through the haze. She spurs her great horse forward as she wades amongst the horde. She leaves a trail of corpses with her trusty +3 sword. And she's a laser printed hero, no prisoners shall she take, 'cause she's deep into her battle range, a role you didn't make. Her companions keep their distance, so they're not mistook for foes. And if she kills the healer, well, that's just how the story goes. And now the battle's over, the companions give a toast unto the mighty hero that turned that goblin host. She looks around the tavern and she mutters, "What the heck?" She spots a half-elf barkeep as she rolls her charisma check. And she's a laser printed hero, and if she has any luck, she'll charm that sexy half-elf and have a real good time. The details will gloss over of what's her story in prose, and if they take her treasure, well, that's just how the story goes. And she's a laser printed hero, a figure cast in lead.